Then I'll introduce myself again.
Okay, good to go now, Jo, thanks.
Hi, morning everyone. I'm Jo Majauskis. I'm the Director of Training and Development at Rockpool. Thanks for all coming along. It's nice to see all your faces this morning. Just a couple of things. We were saying earlier, is everyone familiar with Zoom? Have you all used Zoom before?
Yeah.
No?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So down the bottom of your screen, you've got some little icons, and one says reactions. And if you click on it, you can get some little clappy hands, or you can get a little thumbs up.
Yeah.
If you've got a question and people are talking and you've got a question, if you want to hit one of those and put your hand up, it just means we're not all talking over when there's a lot of people in here. If you can't work the technology, I tried to teach my mum to use Zoom last night. Just put your hand up, I can see you, and we can just do it that way. So yeah, we just thought it might be nice to start with some introductions this morning and maybe a bit of a Rockpool icebreaker. So I'm going to try and do this by reading the name that's on the screen in front of me, which is going to be quite interesting because we've got Mummy on there. And,
That's my kid.
That's fine. But what I'll do is if I read your name that's come up on my screen, if you can just tell us who you are, who you work for, and it'll be useful to know what toolkit it is that you facilitate, and maybe just a word to describe how you're feeling today, if that's all right. So I'll introduce you to some of our team first who are on here. So Sue, do you want to introduce yourself first?
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm Sue Penna. I write the toolkits, so that's me at Rockpool. And a word to describe how I'm feeling today is I'm feeling quite optimistic today, but I think that's because the sun's out and it's just a lovely sunny day. So I'm feeling quite perky today. Thank you.
Laura, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Laura. I'm the operations manager at Rockpool. So I don't actually facilitate any of the toolkits. I'm just basically work behind the scenes, normally behind the scenes. However, today I'm not behind the scenes, which I'm not very happy about. I'm feeling optimistic as well, actually, because the sun's shining and I'm looking forward to a long weekend and getting out in the garden.
Lovely, thank you. We've got Gemma, who's part of the team down there, but she's got her mic off and I think she's otherwise engaged potentially. So we'll come back to Gemma. And then Chris, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Chris. I'm an associate with Rockpool, so I'm familiar with a few of the faces that I can see on the screen. My main role is with Birmingham Children's Trust. I'm the practice lead for trauma there as well, so we do a lot of work around the ACEs and the DV stuff. So yeah, that's me.
Word to describe yourself?
Thankful.
All right, nice, thank you. Okay, so I'm just going to go round and read the names that I can see. So I've got the next one along for me is Rianne Rowlands.
Yeah. Hi, so my name's Rianne. I'm the development officer for Women's Aid in RCT. Currently I'm facilitating both the Adult Domestic Abuse Recovery Toolkit and also the Adult ACEs Toolkit as part of my role.
Lovely. And how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling happy. Feel like I'm on video call a lot.
Yeah, I know.
I actually did my first session yesterday of the Freedom Programme over Zoom, so that was interesting. So yeah, keen to see how recovery is going to work.
Yeah, lovely. Thanks, Rianne. And now I've got Mummy.
Hi, my name's Jude. I did the Recovery Toolkit Programme last October, I think it was. I work in an educational setting and have been doing so for about 16 years, and I've been coming across more and more traumatised children for one reason or another, and wanted to get in this way and went home to set something up within schools where I do a peri and go around introducing the toolkit as and when.
Fantastic, thank you. How are you feeling today? Word to describe it?
I'm feeling positive, yeah.
Oh, that's good, that's good. I was worried this might be not very optimistic, but it's going well so far. So, I've got Lavia.
Oh, yeah, it's Alison Lovelady. I work for Sefton Council and I deliver the Adult Recovery Toolkit. I've only delivered to women's groups, but over the last couple of years I've delivered to, I've lost count, a lot of women, over 50 women have taken place in, and I'm still trying to support them now through new technology. So ask me how I feel. nervous. Trying to get my head around all these different things. I've got my phone on here on Microsoft Word, and I've got you here on screen. I'm trying to work around my son, who's 23 and is always hungry, his girlfriend, who works from home for Santander call centre, and the bloody dog. So, yeah, it's hard. But I'm really feeling positively challenged, to be fair.
Yeah. It's forcing us all to learn some new stuff, isn't it?
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah. Interesting. Thank you. I've got S. Wiley.
Hi, I'm Shannon. I'm with Forward Thinking Birmingham, and I haven't actually delivered any of the toolkits. I was trained to, but we're kind of supporting the family support workers in Birmingham. So,
okay. And how are you feeling?
Actually, right now I'm really warm because it's really hot, but I think just really supported and quite positive, really. I think it's
that's good.
Going well.
Thank you. Jessica Barrow. Morning.
Morning. I work for Women's Aid in RCT. I'm the current SAFE officer, so I facilitate group sessions, Freedom Programme, Recovery Toolkit. I am feeling positive today. I think it's a bit of the sunshine. However, I am going a bit crazy in the house with 2 children and a dog. So yes, but yeah, feeling positive.
Lovely, thank you. Hubert P.
Yes, that's me. That's Penny.
Hello, Penny.
Hi, I'm kind of my word for today is overwhelmed. I think slightly. I've been trained online, and I'm now sort of interacting online and finding it quite difficult. Really, I don't think I'm in the right age group for this, but. I work for Pembrokeshire County Council. I'm a Flying Start in the Flying Start team, and we've been delivering the Recovery Toolkit, and yeah, we got interrupted, so we're actually going to be reconnecting with all our group members next week and kind of continuing online. So that's me, really. Yeah.
Lovely, thanks, Penny. Luckily, I don't have to say this one because I know Ness, who's up next on my screen, MediaPad T5. Your mic's off.
Got a mic off.
You're on mute, Ness. You're on mute.
Good morning. Hello. I'm feeling joyful and excited, and well, Joe and Sue will probably tell you, because they work with me on a fairly regular basis, that I'm generally quite high octane, quite high energy, quite cheerful. So this lockdown business is okay for me. I have a couple of crazy dogs at home and a cat. Awesome person.
And someone has a child.
I guess, so I've worked in children's services for a very, very long time, over 20 years, predominantly in early help prevention, and led on certain developments within Cornwall. So I work for Cornwall Council, and things like the Early Help Hub, which contributed to an outstanding with our recent Ofsted, and then did a short little bit in the voluntary community sector around kind of equalities, cultural capability, and I've been enticed back like you do. So I'm working for Head Start Kernow, and I'm the parenting lead, and I'm actually currently doing some work in collaboration with Rockpool, and we've developed a very unique offer to Cornwall called Space, supporting parents and children emotionally.
Lovely. Maybe Sue will tell us a bit more about that in a bit, maybe.
Maybe. Yeah, well.
Next on my screen, I've got Linda Sirodkar.
Good morning. Yeah, my name's Linda Sirodkar, and I work for Safe in Sussex in Worthing. I'm currently the ACES project manager, and we've got facilitators that are going into schools delivering the children's programme, and facilitators delivering the adults programme as well in the community. But of course they've all come to a stop at the minute. And I suppose I'm feeling optimistic today that, you know, as you say, the sun's out and hopefully there's better days on the horizon, really.
Yeah, I'm sure there is. Lovely. Thanks, Linda. Next I've got Marina.
Hi, I work with Linda So I'm one of the facilitators who goes into primary and secondary schools. I've been doing that since September. And I'm feeling, well, the sun's out, great day. Looking forward to going to the garden later. And pleased to meet you all.
You too, thank you. Gemma, I've mentioned. Victoria, I've got next. Victoria Smith.
Hello.
Morning.
Morning. I work for Asali Fro in Avail, Glamorgan, as a program facilitator, and I'm facilitating courses for women journey beyond abuse, and we're looking to continue from next week online.
Lovely, thank you. How are you feeling today, Victoria?
Yeah, feeling very relaxed actually. I've been on annual leave till this point since the lockdown, so feeling really good.
Thank you. And then I've got Lovegrove next. You're on mute. You was not on mute. Thank you.
Hi, sorry, my name's Alison. I don't know why it's come up as Lovegrove actually.
That's
Maybe
right.
it's my Zoom name. I have to change that. But yeah, I'm Ali Lovegrove, and I work with Linda and Marina for Safe in Sussex. And I also am working in schools with the Recovery Toolkit. And yeah, our courses were interrupted, obviously, like lots of people's were. So this is great, actually, to do this. And I feel good today. I do. I've woken up with quite a positive feeling, and my teenagers are very cheerful today, so that always helps. So yeah, all good. Nice to be here. Thank you.
Lovely. Thanks so much. I don't think I've missed anybody, have I? No. Okay, so do you want to say anything, Sue, before we?
Well, there's two ways we can play it. I can say a little bit, or we could just ask for some questions. Or what's the best way to do it? Sorry, there's someone knocking on my door downstairs. Which is a delivery for me, which I hadn't told my husband about.
Oh.
Bit of online shopping. I'm very conflicted about online shopping at the moment, which is a complete diversion. But on one level, I think it's a really bad thing to be doing because it's making these drivers drive. And the other thing is, but actually that they're being told they've got to work and that's their income. And if we don't support them, then they're going to be really struggling. So I'm really, if anyone's got a perfect solution to it, let me know, because I'm really conflicted. Anyway, toolkits. We started to do these webinars because we were getting quite a lot of people were emailing us and saying, you know, what do we do? The group's been interrupted. How do we go online with it? What should we do? And I think at the moment, and I'm quite happy to discuss this if you feel differently about it, but I guess our sort of position on it has been, if you're towards the end of any of the programs, then I think you've got a group that's established and you can continue to run them. I think if you're at the very early stages, that's more difficult. And I think that the toolkits are different to other programs in that I think they're not just about giving information, because the toolkits are about asking people to sort of challenge the way that they think and the way that they do things. It works in a group setting, but also the other thing that overrides my thinking on that is that if I apply a sort of a trauma-informed principles to all of our work, the things that we know about being able to, the first important thing is that we feel safe. And it's really, at the moment, I don't know many people feeling safe, and that is because that's our reality. We're not safe. We don't know where the virus is. We don't know how we're going to get it. And what I would say is that at the point where people aren't feeling safe, they're not really going to be able to make use of the tools that are in the toolkits, that it's going to be too difficult to do. And that's not because it's just because there are other things that need paying attention to. So what we're saying is that, unlike us, because I'm, if you've trained with me or you've trained with any of the facilitators, we're very clear about that this is a sequential program and you have to do each week following each week because they're designed to build on it. What I'm actually saying over this time when we're in lockdown is that you can ignore that. And what I think is important is that there are sessions in all of the programs that are around safety and connectedness. And I would be advising, and we can send out, we've got a worksheet that we'll send out to you, which highlights the chapters that we think are the ones that are worth doing. And we think if you're going to do anything online, the thing to do are those things around safety and connectedness, because that's about enabling people to emotionally regulate and stay strong in these times, rather than having to take on new information. I don't think that any of us at the moment are in a position to be thinking about our thought diaries or are doing our positive affirmations or all of the things that are in the programs. I think we're just it's too big an ask. The risk then is that the women will fail, that they won't be able to do it. And if they fail, you're not going to get them back in it again when you do start properly. And actually it's just going to be another stick to beat themselves up with. Does that make sense to people?
Perfect sense. Yeah.
So we've been through the DV toolkit and the ACEs toolkit, and we've picked out the sessions that we think are doable, or the things that could be doable from those sessions. So we've got those on a fact sheet for you, and we've got some other videos and some other things that we suggest that you could use with people because the most important thing is to maintain the link, isn't it? So I think if you are doing online work with people, the best thing you're doing is just connecting with them. And my guess is that some of the women we're working with don't have anybody else to connect with. I can't imagine. We were talking about this yesterday. I meet on Zoom every Wednesday with some friends, ex-colleagues, and we were talking last night about how lucky a lot of us are. We have a roof over our head. We sort of know where we're going to get our food from. And even though, you might have the dog and the 23-year-old eating you out of house and home, Alison, you've got that safety in that place. And for a lot of the clients we're working with, they just haven't got that at the moment. So anything that you can do working with them to help them feel emotionally or be physically safe, I think is the best thing. And that will work, that will pay off in the future when they come back to a group. That safety that you've helped, that trust that you've developed with them you'll be quids in when you start to run the program. Does that make sense? I saw Alison's hand.
Yeah, a couple of my previous women, when I've been phoning them for doing safety checks and whatever, a couple of them were homeless. And to be homeless in these times and be told that all that's available is potentially a sit-up. Yeah, but we have been able to negotiate some support for them, but just can't imagine how that must be.
No. Does that make sense to everybody? Is there any questions about or quite fairly challenges about that? If you feel differently about it, I think where it's different to something where you like some of you are doing freedom. I think online. It's not my program, so it's not really fair to comment on it. Other than I think that's more about giving information.
Yeah.
It's like dropping information.
I feel reassured really because I think I've been putting too much pressure on myself to find a way to deliver online. Sorry. It's not corona. Don't worry.
Notice I went backwards like on the screen.
It's so hard not to shy away from people, isn't it? No, I mean, I did feel a lot of pressure and then we haven't got the sufficient technology. Some of our women, have not got access to phones that would support this type of approach. But
and you're going into people's houses in a way that you wouldn't be if they were coming to a group, and you don't know what the setup at home is. So, like several of you already said, you've got children around. How do you concentrate on anything when you've got, potentially the kids running in and out or the dog running in? So I think it's, as I've said, normally, I'm an absolute for the fidelity of the program has to be run in a certain way, but these are extreme times. When you get back to work and you have a group, I would go back to that. You have to run it in that way. But for this point of time, we're just going to try and help facilitate what we can. Can I talk about what we're doing, Ness? She swallows her coffee. Yeah. So one of the things that we've done with Ness is we've developed a sort of a universal program. This is might be of more interest to you that are doing the ACEs, the trauma informed work. So we've developed a 5-week program. One of the things that in conversation that came up when we were talking with Head Start was that I think if we're going to be really trauma informed, what we need to do is assume that everybody has had some trauma But what happens in our services is we identify those people that have had distress, and those are the ones we invite to things. So already they are singled out as somehow that they've got there's something wrong or deficit. So what we've developed is a universal, very quick program, really. It's only 5 weeks, so it can be run in a term. And it's just an introduction to emotional well-being for children and parents. The idea from that is that after that, people can decide they want some more help and can go on to the ACEs toolkit or something. But it's a sort of a universal offer for all of us. And I think there's bits that would apply if you've got issues with your children or not. What we're doing at the moment in these times is that we're producing, out of that program, I'm producing 5 fact sheets. And those fact sheets will be little summaries of the program, but very much focusing on developing the adults' safety and connectedness and resilience, so they can help their children. So it's focusing on sort of the adults' mental health aspect as well as the children. We're doing those for Head Start, but we're going to be able to put them on the website, aren't we, Ness?
Yes, so so as soon as the fact sheets are available,
there'll be a free resource. There'll be a free resource for all of you to use. Okay. Yeah. Because it's a lottery funded project, isn't it? And they're quite happy for us to disseminate that information.
Yeah.
So we haven't decided when they're starting yet. Ness and I are still having that negotiation. Possibly the week after next.
Yes.
Did that date look good? No. So yes. Monday week. It's not the bank holiday Monday, the next weekend, we will start with the week 1 of the fact sheet, and it's all about safety. It's just got 3 little exercises that parents can do with their children and some links to some videos and resources for them. So it's not hard work, and it's something that they can do with their kids. So we'll make them available too. And what you're doing, any contact you're having with people at the moment is amazing. And I just think just keeping people still is enough. Just holding them, helping them to hold in the space they're in without any expectation. Because I don't know how. I mean, I've had conversations. I don't know. Some of you are parents, but some of this ridiculous homeschooling stuff that's going on and the pressure that's being put on parents is just, well, from a trauma-informed perspective, ridiculous. Just live with your kids. That's hard enough, isn't it? If you're managing to homeschool well, good for you. But most people, no. I don't think are. No. People are lurching along, especially if you've got to work and everything. So, is there any other questions? I've just you all into silence.
I think that there's a lot to be done as well for women who aren't allowed to see their children at the moment. So women who we're having supervised contact potentially, or and are now not able to see the children at all. So I think maybe if there's any suggestions around that.
Are they allowed contact? Are they allowed video contact? Or
some are, but not all. And then looking for things to be involved in, outside of not. Say children are living with grandparents and they're not allowed to go there.
Yeah.
Are they allowed to have, you said so, they're allowed to have online, like maybe phone contact and stuff. Yeah.
Is it? Sorry, yeah.
Alison.
Hi.
Yeah.
Me, this Alison, yeah.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering what you think, all of you and Sue, about the children and young people version of the ACEs recovery, because we left a group of 14-year-old girls and also a mixed gender group in primary halfway through their toolkit, and depending on when we can get back in, they might have moved on, they might not be at the school anymore, and just I've got this residual kind of nagging feeling about there is incomplete, and even if we don't deliver any more sessions, and it's not to be answered now maybe because it depends what happens next, but I just want to throw that call really about you know, how to reach children who, you know, they can't email them or do anything direct with them. They're probably not even attending school, and in the short term they might be. But yeah, just any ideas what we can do, because we were literally halfway through.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's difficult, isn't it? Because do you know the parents of the children?
No, it doesn't really work like that. No, we go via the school key contacts.
Right.
But you know, as and when we can get back in touch with them, because at the moment it's just we're on hold.
And are any of those children still attending because they're vulnerable children?
They may well be. At the moment, because you know, time of year, that's changing all the time, I think.
Yeah.
And, you know, but I think it's more to do with, depending on how long it is before things go back to a bit more normality. I don't know, will it be appropriate to, I don't know, at least try and develop some kind of, at least you did this course and this is what you achieved, some kind of, I don't know, just a certificate to try and get it to them or something.
I think it depends how far on they were, won't it?
They were
sort
halfway.
So sort of wanting to acknowledge what they have done, even if they can't continue, which I think is, yeah, absolutely. That might be you sending them a little certificate, or you know, making contact with them. At the moment, I would say that, again, the same as the adults, it's just about anything that can make them safe. And if the reality is, I know that in lots of areas, the children that should be attending because they're at risk aren't attending.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, I think that's one of the problems. I think some schools are trying to be more proactive about how they engage those families. I mean, I guess, Chris, is probably that's happening in your area. Ness, I know it's happening here, isn't it? That kids aren't going.
One of the head teachers in Sefton went round trying to collect all the vulnerable children yesterday and just to bring them in, you know, because they're not coming.
I don't think, Alison, I've got an easy answer.
Fair enough. And I don't think I was expecting it. I suppose it's just nice to share it with you all. That this is kind of, that's what happened.
What I do think is going to happen, you know, is that when this is over and these children come back to school, then we're going to be, Ness and I were talking about this yesterday, I think, like, I think teachers are going to be faced with lots of very traumatized children.
Yeah.
Perhaps we should transfer it to the whole school.
Yeah, and I think two things. One is, I think that there's a risk that we will over pathologise a bit. Actually, children are quite resilient sometimes. It's amazing what children deal with and how they process stuff, which as adults we don't understand. They just do seem to be able to do some things better than us. The other thing is, though, is that you are going to have kids that have been left in hideous situations, exposed to more family violence or more whatever, and those children are going to come into school quite wrecked, I think. And I don't mean that's a horrible word to use, but just, I mean, you know, I live by the sea, so we talk about shipwrecks all the time and things that, you know, when they are going to be really hurting. And if they then get to school and all school wants them to do is go straight into lessons, it's just gonna be horrendous, isn't it? I think, you know, but if I ran the world, I would just say to teachers, you know, we ain't teaching anything in first term back. All we're gonna do is settle these kids down. You know, we're gonna help them reconnect to each other. We're gonna help them, you know, get rid of some of whatever's happened to them, and then we'll teach them. Because I know that it won't, if they, you know, we all know that if the child isn't safe, they're not going to learn. So unless we make those children safe in that first term, the inequality will continue for them. And I think there is a huge inequality issue about, you know, I don't know if anyone saw that Emily Maitlis statement on telly last night when she opened Newsnight. It's on Twitter. It's all over Twitter. And she quite rightly, anyone see it? She quite rightly said, this virus is not an equal opportunity virus, because it will affect everybody the same, but we're going to be really impacted by our personal situation. So if we live in poverty, if we live in a high rise, if we don't have a garden, if we don't have access to the internet, all of those things are going to make it much, much harder coming out of it for those people. So, you know, the communities that often we work with that are already suffering from those inequalities are going to experience it even more during and post-COVID. You know, so I think it's worrying, Alison. You know, the children you're working with, it is worrying how they're going to be at the end of it. Mm-hmm. And I go back to that thing I keep jumping on about. Best work you'll be able to do with those children when they come back is safety. Mm-hmm. Safety and emotional regulation. Until they do that, they can't move on to safety and emotional regulation. And even if that takes ages, the benefit will be once someone is safe and can do that, they'll fly with the rest of it. The rest of it will be easy. It's again, it's that Gabor Mate thing. I don't know if any of you watch Gabor Mate on YouTube. You haven't got much time because you're all busy, but he's worth watching if you Google him into YouTube. And he's Canadian, and he talks about the way we help people repair trauma is really simple. But he says that doesn't mean it's simplistic, it's just simple. And the simple stuff is making people safe and connecting with people. And to connect with people, you have to demonstrate how trustworthy you are. And I really think that's my experience working in mental health for 20 years. If I didn't spend a lot of time helping people, demonstrating my trustworthiness to people and helping people stay safe, they either wouldn't come for appointments or it would just be harder for them to make sense of what we were doing.
I mean, I'm with you, Sue, because actually, I think that, you know, when you're talking about that, about kind of reconnectedness and rebuilding kind of peer relationships and that kind of need for that social emotional connection, I think play forms probably the biggest part of that jigsaw, because we know that both children and adults can heal and repair trauma through the use of play. So I think what they really need to do is almost change all the schools into Steiner schools almost overnight. You know, and also, you know, play is part of the Human Convention of Children's Rights, Article 31. So every child has a right to play, which is connected to that feeling of safety and connectedness. So, you know, actually, I think, you know, as professionals, maybe that's what we could be suggesting to our local authorities and heads of service is, you know, have you thought about, you know, plans for reintroduction with children and what that looks like? Because I know certainly in Cornwall, one of the ways that we're advocating managing stress and anxiety is through the medium of play, both for adults and children, because there's benefits for both. So, you know, whether or not it's kind of, you know, thinking about it, Sue, because I was thinking about it, you know, from our conversation yesterday, that maybe that's kind of almost like a briefing paper that needs to come out is about how we introduce that, because we also know that children learn best through play because it allows them to make sense of their world.
Yeah, babe.
Who's that?
Yes, everyone heard.
I pressed mute. I'm sorry.
It's fine. It's great. That's parental interactions in
Sorry,
flow
I
and
pressed
live.
mute. Oh, I thought I pressed mute, but obviously I didn't. Sorry.
You're right, and I think that is, you know, the dilemma is that stuff around, you know, acknowledging the trauma, but also recognizing, not wanting to make everybody ill, you know, not having everybody running off to therapists at the end of it that they don't need. And I think the communities, you know, healthcare communities just need to be supported how to recover themselves, and they will, and that is through each other, you know, a lot of it. It is. And then there's the other aspect of it all, which is the impact it's having on us, because we're not immune to this. It's happening in our communities, it's happening to our friends and family and people we know, and it's scary for us too. You know, you know, if you go out now, I don't know what it's like where all of you live. I mean, I'm lucky I live in a ruralish area, you know, and it's not too bad, although it's an area that everyone's going to come to their bloody second home on holiday. So
I think they should have police on the borders, Sue.
I think we should, on the bridge, mate, on the bridge. Turn them around. Because the reason we don't want people to come to Cornwall on holiday is that we only got one general hospital for the whole of the county. So if you come to Cornwall and get ill, it's that hospital that doesn't cope with flu in the winter, you know.
Yeah. And they already have 22 confirmed cases at Trelisk.
We haven't got the medical facilities to treat people down here. So that's very frightening. Anyway, what was I going to say? The impact on us, sorry, is that we will bring that. We have to, you know, as we're still interacting with people and as we come back into it, we just also have to be mindful about recognising what it's been like for us in it as well. And I was talking, someone asked me yesterday, do I still do vicarious trauma training, which I do. And I originally I thought, well, this isn't vicarious trauma, this is different, because but actually it is, because you're working with families in maybe sort of desperate situations that are very unsafe, and it's going to take all your energy to work with them to keep them safe in some way. So I think it does have that impact on us. Does that make sense to people? Right.
Yeah. So,
yes,
you know, in SEFTA they did promise that we would get some sort of clinical supervision or secondary trauma. None of that's happened.
No.
We'll
just keep doing some webinars, and Alison, you can keep coming.
Okay, thank you.
The only other thing with your women who haven't got contact, I mean, it's that the only other thing I can think of is like letters or cards or regular postcards, you know, that they could make themselves or whatever, just so that they're, you know, I'm not allowed to see you. It's not I don't want to see you. You know, just with simple messages to children. It's the best thing I can think of, really, and it's a horrible situation.
Yeah, it was just that one of the women I was talking to, she wants to fill her time, you know, she wants to fill her time looking up ACEs, but then I'm taking your advice, really, and thinking, well, that's not something that you cope with on your own at home.
No. But she can fill her time by writing to her children. She could keep a journal.
Yeah.
You know, what's it like if she's literate? What's it like for me at this time? Somewhere to write what she's going through down.
Yeah.
Doesn't need analysis. It's just somewhere to vent that sort of thing. You know, something that, you know, she could write a journal that she's going to give to the children at some point. You know, this is why it was hard not to see you, but this is what I recorded.
Because some of the work that we've been doing is sending out journals and things like that, ideas for you know, for the children who are with their parents, sending them out either through WhatsApp or what's it called? Email. My brain frazzles.
And keep an eye out for our worksheet, the fact sheets that we're doing, because they've got some little exercises, mainly for parents and children, but there's all the stuff in there parents can do themselves.
Yeah, and when we get into the office, we're managing to print them off so that we can actually take them out to people.
Any other questions?
My hand up.
Oh, sorry. I didn't see. I'm not used to these icons.
Just did it. I was just going to say, are we allowed to mention the book?
Oh yeah.
Just so mentioned the book, so.
Mention the book. So a task that I took on many years ago and never finished was converting the domestic violence toolkit into a self-help book. But I'm finally almost done with it. So it is with my editor and should be by the end of the month out, and it will be available through that company that I can't stand, but you have no choice but to use these days, Amazon. And people, and it'll probably be available as an ebook as well. I've no idea what that's going to cost at the moment, but obviously we'll try and be mindful of it, because and part of the reason I've rushed it through at the moment is that this is a prime time for particularly women that have got away from abusive partners, for the abusive partner to turn up being a bit of a rescuer and trying to weed all their way back in. With, you know, food parcels, or I'll look after the kids. It would be so much easier if we just did lockdown together. And
I'll move in with you. Oh, it's so typical, especially the coercive ones, the manipulating ones, and you can see it happening. And once this is over, the shit's going to hit the fan, basically.
So I think they're wheedling their way back in. So the idea of the book is, if people have been through the toolkit, it's a reminder for people. If they haven't been through the toolkit, they can, it follows the same pattern, and they can work through some stuff themselves. So keep an eye on our website, because that anything else? No?
I suppose it's Linda. I suppose I'd just like to say I think it's kind of hard for the people working in Worthing as it is for everybody else. Our roles have been furloughed.
Yeah.
So we can't have any contact. I think that is probably even more difficult. I really empathise with what Alison was saying. It feels very much as if things are unfinished, and we can't initiate any contact. Yeah. So yeah, I just think it's a very difficult time, because I agree with what everybody's saying about, you know, the concerns about how vulnerable people are, and all the statistics are saying, you know, that people are struggling while they're in lockdown, as we can all understand. And I suppose it's just that feeling of not being able to do anything is so frustrating at the moment.
Were you able to sort of let your own clients know, Linda, or were you just, you know, there one day and gone the next?
We were able to send out emails to let people know that this is what was happening, and, you know, kind of, we hope we can come back at some time in the future and finish what we started. But again, I think that may well work with the adults' work, but Alison's point about the children, you know, they could have moved out of the school by the time we eventually get back there. So not being able to have those kind of final conversations with them, just seems such a shame, really.
And that has an impact on us personally, doesn't it? That not being able to feel that we've completed something or said goodbye, or endings are difficult anyway, you know, but to have them in that way.
Yeah, definitely. I just wanted to share that frustration, really, you know, because I think it's brilliant if you can think about sending letters and cards and, you know, keeping that contact with people. But I think for us, we haven't been able to do that, and it's frustrating, really.
Oh, it's really hard, Linda. Thank you for sharing it. I think it's, really difficult. I think some of it was, I guess, who do you work for?
Women's Aid in Worthing, Safe in Sussex. They're continuing with all the outreach work, so the outreach workers are still working, and the refuges are still running, but it's the community groups work that all the workers have been furloughed for.
I'm sorry it's so difficult for you. I think I don't know. I mean, my only guess is that the charities have made their decisions in the same way that we had to at Rockpool, whereas most of our staff are also furloughed. Is that to survive, you know, to get through it, really? But that doesn't, you know, it's not much comfort.
Yeah. No, I didn't expect any answers. I just wanted to kind of share the frustrations that I think are around, really, at the moment. And I agree with everything you've said, Sue, and I think that was a decision in the process of people are in very different circumstances at home, and you don't want to be opening stuff that you can't offer full support for. And actually most people are just using all their energy to get by at the moment. So
I think it's as it's a moving thing, isn't it, as well? I mean, that's part of, I guess, where the anxiety and the fear comes in. Maybe for me, is I don't know from day to day. There's that bit. It's always different, and my children are grown up and don't live near me, and my anxiety is about what if they become ill where they are and not being able to get to them. And so we all carry this sort of personal stuff as well, don't we?
Yeah. So I think everybody's full of their own stuff at the moment, aren't they? You know, definitely.
So that thing that Alison said about, you know, being promised supervision and not getting it, you know, I mean, I think that if we're going to look after, as well as getting ready for the kids coming back to school, all going, you know, we're all going to go back to work with carrying all sorts of stuff with us too. And if we're not looked after by our employers when we go back, then that's going to just make it that much harder.
Can I just say thanks to Linda, because you've made me be grateful that I'm still in work, and And there's times when I'm resenting it because I can't see my granddaughter, but I can go to work, you know, and that's like dealing with that conflict on yourself. Am I putting myself more at danger? And, you know, but there you go. So thanks for sharing that, Linda. It made me feel better about being able to be in work, if you like.
Oh, you know, I mean, my thinking is very much that our organisation have done the right thing, because it has given all of us as workers, you know, the time to fill our heads with our own personal needs. But it is still difficult.
Thank you.
So, hi, Jessica and I have got about 40 women waiting for Recovery Toolkit at the moment. We just obviously trying to manage our time better because we do have quite a large client base. I absolutely agree that, you know, by taking a trauma-informed approach, well, we wouldn't be if we were running the toolkit out of the training room. So do you think it would just be beneficial then to maybe introduce the idea of negative automatic thinking and then just focus on, like you said, the positive sessions? So, you know, emotional regulation, breathing techniques, that kind of thing, just so that these women can still have some contact with us. We just haven't got the capacity with everybody to do individual.
So Joe will email you the worksheet that we designed, and you can pick those sessions out and do those sessions with them.
Okay.
Yeah. I've put a couple of like TED Talks or YouTube videos that we thought might be just nice to watch. There's a couple of really nice children's activities. One that the lovely Chris gave me, to make a virtual hug that they can do with their kids, which is really sweet. And yeah, just a couple of things that you can sort of introduce maybe one a week or something, just so you can still have that contact. But, you know, maybe suggest everyone watches a TED Talk, and then when you come back, you will have a chat about it or something. So there's just a few ideas on there, things that you can do.
And we do, if they are at home with their children, we do the transitional objects.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know, get them making transitional love objects and things, so that they actually, it's just about that connectedness and safety, and it won't be wasted time, and it keeps you involved, but nothing that is going to make them feel like the pressure, because until they're safe, they're not, you know. I've got a pile of textbooks on my table, which I thought would be really lovely while I'm off. You know, I can read all the things I'm meant to be reading, because it will be really good time. I can't concentrate on half of it.
No.
You know.
Okay.
I'm better in the mornings than I am in the afternoons. In the mornings, I get up and I go for a walk, and I feel quite, you know, that's when I'm doing all my work. But by the afternoon, I've clicked on the news a couple of times. I've started to look at some statistics. I've been thinking about my shopping, and then I'm worried about me. You know, by the afternoon, it all starts to go. So I'm hoping that that's the same for other people. That I'm not the only one that's.
Yeah.
We actually had a TV day break the other day. We had a day where the TV didn't go on, and we played board games, and we just made out like it was, you know, Boxing Day or something. But we just purposely stayed away from the TV. I think you've got to give yourself a break from it every now and then, because it's distressing, isn't it?
So in the fact sheets, there are things that you can do yourself with your own children. You know, that if it so the first one is just about you know, where are you safe in the house? How do you make little safe spaces? What's that like? We do the gingerbread exercise, flight or fight, you know, so that kids understand what's going on. You talk about the emotional regulation. And we do worry monsters, you know, so where do you put your worries at night? And then the monster comes, and we have to expect. Did anyone see that lovely thing by the Prime Minister of New Zealand about the Easter Bunny? Yeah. Oh, you should Google her. It's hysterical. So there's the Prime Minister of New Zealand standing up in front of televised, saying to children, we do consider the Easter Bunny to be an essential worker at this time, but they're really busy and they might not get to you this Easter. So, you know, the worry monster can't get everywhere, can't be in everybody's houses, because you can buy the little dolls, can't you? You can make a worry jar, and the worry monster will still pop in quickly and take your worry in the night.
Yeah.
So there's just some things that you can start to do to think about that making it safe between the parent and child. Because if you've, I mean, another colleague of ours, one of our ambassadors, Jennifer Gilmore, who runs Abuse Talk every Wednesday for people that have been in abusive relationships. Again, it's a Twitter thing. If any of your women have got phones and they want support, Abuse Talk, I can't remember what if we got it on the, we could put it on the
I could put it on the fact sheet.
On the fact sheet. Jennifer has lived experience herself. She's done the toolkit training. She knows about the toolkits. And she runs an hour every Wednesday on Twitter where people can just join in. And it's a huge community of people, and it's really supportive, and she's a very trustworthy person to be doing it. But we were talking yesterday, put some stuff on Twitter about it. But what's happening in isolation is that it is triggering for her because her perpetrator isolated her. So even though she's remarried and everything's fine and dandy, she's really aware that the isolation is bringing up some of the same feelings that she had when she was intentionally isolated by her perpetrator. So isolation itself is going to bring issues up for women that are no longer with their perp.
Well, sorry, Sue, what's her name?
Jennifer Gilmore. And Joe will pop her the Abuse Talk Twitter link on the worksheet. Is that all right, Joe?
Yeah,
and then I would say women, it's a good place to go. Sorry, Alison.
While we're talking about people you've mentioned, I missed the name of someone you said. It's a Canadian trauma recovery. Gabby Matt?
Look, there we are. Joe's just holding him up.
Oh, Gab. Oh, okay, that was right. Thank you. Oh God, I've really
He's got some fabulous he's got YouTube stuff, and that he's really good.
Up again.
Right. So Linda, if you're home and you're not able to work and you want a bit of inspiration, watching any of his stuff on YouTube is inspiring. Person.
I've taken loads of notes, thank you. I've got lots of bits down here to look at.
That's all right. The other organisation that's really good is the Harvard Centre for Child Development, and that's where Bruce Parry sits, who wrote come on.
Boy Who Was Raised as a Dog.
Thank you, Chris.
I was looking for it on my bookshelf, but it's downstairs.
Boy That Was Raised as a Dog. And Harvard, I've got the Harvard Child Development Centre. You can become, you sign in to it, and it's got loads of videos and resources and really, really good stuff if you're at home and you're wanting to update on things around children and brains and everything.
And there's some really lovely resources, and it is on the. I've put this on the resource list I'm sending out, but Beacon House has got some really lovely resources. There's a little free downloadable book that you can click on about staying indoors for children, and there's some videos and things. So some of it's fun activities, but there's some really nice resources on there as well.
And have we got the Gruffalo book on there?
No, but I can add it.
We'll add the Gruffalo book. The guy that wrote the Gruffalo and the illustrator, they've produced something around talking how to talk to your children about COVID-19. It's free download, so we'll just put the link on to that as well.
We've been able to access loads of resources for younger children, but not so much for teenagers.
All right.
I suppose they're a bit more self-sufficient, but if anybody's got any ideas.
We've got quite a nice Canadian link about anxiety in teenagers.
Right.
So stick that on there.
The YouTube video that you said.
The one yesterday. I sent YouTube one I sent yesterday. Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll put the link on there so you can click it, but I'll write down what it's called as well, in case sometimes the links move and they get broken. So I'll write it down so you can Google it as well.
Thank you.
Brilliant.
There's the Anna Freud Centre in London as well. They're doing some amazing things for families and children, and also teenagers. And
they said they're worth. I haven't looked at them. Yeah.
Young adult section, they're not bad at all. That's been quite good. In case you haven't seen it. Good.
Oh gosh, we've had an hour.
Yeah.
I hope it's been useful, and we're going to keep doing with these. I think what we're saying to people, if you feel you'd like to come back again, you just have to re-sign in. So we're taking people in order at which they sign. So it might be a couple of weeks before you get another invite. But if it is useful time to come in and talk about what's happening, or support, or just meeting some of the other people like yourselves that are doing this out there and sharing it, like Linda's, you know, sharing your frustrations, Linda, I think is that potentially is going to embed more for us if this goes on for longer.
Yeah. I think, you know, I wouldn't even say it's personal frustrations. I think it's frustrations for the clients that we're not able to complete the work with, and the concerns around not being able to have any contact with them.
Yeah.
Going back to Ali's question about how do we acknowledge what they have done if they've moved on.
Yeah.
I think that's the frustration, really.
It's gonna there is that sense, isn't there, that it's gonna be a different sort of world when we get back out there a bit. It's, you know, it's gonna have shifted, and it's gonna be hard to pick some of it up. Like you said, Alison, there's people, you know, those kids might have gone somewhere else, or goodness knows.
Yeah. Yeah.
There might be a way. There might be a way.
Yeah.
I think we'll get creative, won't we? We'll work it out.
I think if there is a way, we'll find it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is doing it differently, isn't it? It's like, you know, 3 weeks ago, I didn't imagine that I would be running a webinar on a Thursday morning.
No. Yeah, I know.
And here we are. And, you know, we're thinking about what of our resources and training can we put online in the future, because we don't know when we're going to be back out. I mean, I don't imagine the toolkits ever will, just because the importance, what we always get in feedback about the toolkit training is that people just love being in the room together and sharing, you know, and it's cultural changes, isn't it, for us? So I don't think that, but there is some stuff we think we'll put online. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you all ever so much for coming. You will get a follow-up email asking you for the inevitable feedback. If you want to come again, just because it's just quite a nice thing to do, or because it was useful hearing other people, you get back in touch with our lovely Laura, the same, and she'll put you on the list. And then we're sort of doing 15 at a time. So we're sort of, you know, just moving through people, really. So we'll be happy to see you all again. Thank you for coming.
Nice to see everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Take care, everybody. All right. Cheerio.
Bye.
Bye.